Okay, for this next demonstration, I'm going to show you how to take a view from a pose. I'm using just a pose from an ad in Du Jour magazine. I had a former student who donated a bunch of magazines. He was the head stylist there. So I'm going to first assess what I'm looking at. So she has a side view of her head, so that's going to change the head shape a little bit. I can see which way her shoulders are going, and there's a slight tilt going downward this way. Same thing with her bust line. Waist is going in the same tilt, but just not as angled. And then her hip is always going to do the opposite. So I can see high hip here and then low hip. And then I can map out what would be her pelvis shape here, that trapezoid, that triangle shape here, what that would look like, and then map out her legs and feet. So again, we're going to start with the head shape, and I'm drawing lengthwise on my paper just because I have a smaller pad here. So head is going to look something like this. And I can see her neck extending here at an angle. And we talked about those doing the plumb line first. Not very straight. Okay. And then going in to put her shoulder in. So shoulders would be here. And again, I want to make sure I have the right proportion for the shoulders. Okay, and then her curve is kind of going this way. So I want to map out where her bust is. So when you're drawing this, and we do your 9 heads to count the proportion, this is 1 head here. So then this would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This time I'll make it to 9, and this is 10. Okay, so if I'm going to challenge myself to do 10 heads, what you want to do is look at the landmarks. So if we're doing 10 heads, so at 1.5 is the shoulder. So if that's 2, so then shoulder is at 1.5, which I'm good there. And that's tilting. My waist is at 3.5. So if that's 1 head, 2 head, 3 head, so half would be here. And we said it was the same tilt, just slightly different. I know my waist in proportion to my shoulders is going to be a smaller line. So again, thinking about that inverted triangle and the shape that that would make. And also the triangle from the head, the shape that that would make. Let's see. So then my hips are at 4.5. So if I'm doing 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, this is 4.5. So then my hip is doing that. We talked about a high hip is doing something like that, and that's going to take on a different shape from my waist. So then here should be my crotch, and then I can take a look at what the legs are doing. So in proportion to the shoulder, I can see my knee is coming out about here, and this knee is actually higher if I look at it than this one. So it's all about just finding where things are in proportion to each other. So I know this is going to kick out this way, and then sort of like this. Okay, so this is rounding out, and I want to look at my negative space. So negative space is this space outside of the actual leg, so then I can see what my line should kind of look like. And then here, I'm going to just come, because this leg is kind of straight, but it kicks out a little bit here. And then I can see what, again, that triangle shape, her feet are going to look like here. And this one's going to be here. And again, we're stylizing, so it doesn't have to look like a foot. Okay, I just want you to get to learn the body first. So I'm going to go in and start filling in. So her arm is going to kind of do something like this. And I can see about at her thigh. There's her hands. I'm just going to suggest the placement of her arms right now. This one's going out here. So then in proportion to that other hand, this one is doing something like this. Okay, then I can go fill it in. So again, don't need full-on muscle group. I'm going to just draw upper part of the arm, forearm at the elbow, blend it into the hand. I'm going to go in and draw the upper part of the arm, blend it into the forearm and into the hand. She's starting to look like a little bit like a football player up there. So remember, with the charcoal, it's forgiving, and I'm going to just draw like an indication for her bust. So I know that shape is going to look like this into her waist, and she's going to have a little bit of a bust line there. And then really want to capture this strong sort of shape. Again, looking at the negative shape there that her head is doing. And her neck is doing something like this. We do elongate the neck with these fashion figures. So then her bust line is kind of going to do that. I'm going to just flesh her out a little bit. Not using the eraser. Try not to use the eraser right now. And then for her leg, under her crotches here, I'm going to have this sort of, I don't know what this shape would be called, but it's her thigh. And a trick that I like to do, especially when something is foreshortened, and we'll talk about that later, is I just kind of fill it in like this, and then until I get the shape that I like, and then go in and draw kind of like a box around it. Because again, you want to look at that negative space around it. So then the bottom of the leg, especially if you're stylizing, you can just do something skinny. So I usually just do sort of like a stretched out kind of diamond shape to show calf muscle, and then into ankle. Okay, so then if you want to start practicing shading, you can go ahead and shade some of that charcoal in, which I love. And then any of these that you practice sketching the pose and you want to keep, just make sure you go in and you're just going to spray the fixative on it, just to make sure it sets. We talked about that in class. Or you can use a hairspray. Make sure it's aerosol. You can even get like a little travel can. If you want to go in and start filling in, I see your hair here. I can actually start filling in her hair if I'm feeling fancy. So I can see that her hair is darker here, and there's a light source here, so I'm going to leave it kind of light in the middle. Give her a little bit of a messy bun here. And she has a chain. This actually is like a mesh tank. Not sure if you can really see it. So she has a sort of V-neck line. Get rid of that guideline there. V-neck line. This is where if you did purchase charcoal pencil, you can go in with your charcoal pencil and draw a really defined line here. So this is all like mesh. So I can go in and cross hatch that if I want. And then her entire dress is like this metallic. I'm gonna just draw where the bottom of the detail is for the fringe as they're going. So I'm gonna draw kind of like each layer. Guess I shouldn't have picked this difficult of a design to show how to fill it in. Okay, so I can literally just go in and show movement with the fringe. A lot of the detail does get lost with the charcoal. The good thing about the charcoal though is it will allow you to kind of loosen up, so you can realize, you know, there's no messing up. It's very forgiving. You can just go back over something easily. But you see, as how I'm drawing, this is getting smudged. I need to make sure if I like it, I want to go put the fixative on it. So any of my little guidelines that I want to erase, I can go in and clean it up, or use my kneaded eraser to clean it up, and then put my fixative on it when I'm done. You can also practice shading, so I can see that the inside of her leg is a little bit darker, and I can just kind of blend it in here. One of these legs is a little bit off, probably this one, because it looks a little disjointed, but I mean, I'm okay with it. It's not about perfect, it's about stylizing to find your unique style. I can get rid of all this guideline and erase that. Go in and give her just a slightly smaller neck so she doesn't look like she's muscle building. And that's it. So charcoal, if you want to flesh it in and draw a garment on it, just build from those building blocks, remembering just to map out the body first.